Welcome to the Call Before Showing podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Allison, and we're here to talk to you about the real ups and downs of being in the real estate business.
Let's get to it.
Let's do it. Sally Sheard is here.
You might remember her from one of our first episodes where we talked about work-life balance. I know it's one of my favorite episodes.
One of my favorite episodes, too.
I prefer the episodes where I'm talking most.
The other day, Sally texted me and said, I found another podcast that I like other than Call Before Showing. And I said, what? And she said, it's My Perfect Murder. And I'm like,
show?
As long as you listen to true crime and then Alex and I.
It's in the same vein.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I've heard that true crime podcasts are actually really good, but I've never listened to any.
So basically, Sally just listens to psychopaths on...
Including
podcasts.
us.
Including us.
Yeah.
Fair.
Psychopaths and sociopaths, you know. It's all good. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is how to put your best foot forward for a listing appointment.
Yeah.
Because I think that might be one of the most nerve-wracking things that we do, right?
I would say so, especially like in my rookie year.
I think so, too. I'm very confident talking to a buyer. I can talk to a buyer on the street and feel like I could sign them up right there, but a listing is gets in your head a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, and not say something that like will come back and bite you later on in the
Correct.
transaction or relationship with the people.
Right. So our goal is for someone to listen to this when they are perhaps getting ready for a listing presentation and to hopefully get a couple tips and just find a way to feel really confident going into it, be able to present the best version of themselves and make that money, honey.
Yes. Heck yeah. So yeah, what do we want to start with? Like, what do you wear to listing appointments?
That's a great question. What do you wear?
I pretty much wear a uniform all the time.
She does.
What's your uniform?
So in the summer, I wear a dress with flats. In the winter, I wear a dress with leggings and boots. And in the winter, I'll wear like a cardigan or something on top or a blazer on top.
Tell me a little bit more about these dresses. What's the fabric like? Is it bodycon? Is it loose? Is it...
It's where it like gathers at the waist and then it goes out. What is that? A-line?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you tell me, bitch. You're
I
more
know
fashion
what your dresses
conscious.
look like, but I'm trying to get you to use descriptive words.
I don't know how to
you
use.
like florals. I know you love a pattern.
Yes, I wear patterns all the time. I am not the person that will walk into a listing appointment with like a power suit. I don't own a power suit. I don't like pants.
I think you would look so hot in a power suit. Guys, Allison has the best legs, and she never wears pants.
I hate pants.
She's wearing pants today.
I'm wearing pants today because I didn't shave my legs.
That's why pants were created.
So you wear a lot of dresses. So does that mean that you're constantly shaving your legs?
Yes.
Okay. I wonder what that's like.
But in the winter, I wear
good
leggings.
shave.
I wear leggings with boots.
Okay.
I don't always shave my legs in the winter. That's a really awful expectation. But yeah, what do you wear to listing appointments, Sally?
It totally depends on, I think, how well I know the person. If it's someone I don't know and it's like first meeting, I'm going to go in probably a little bit more professional. If it's someone I know, I'm going to go looking like normal. My friends tease me because we talked about branding once and they're like, oh, Sally, you have a brand and you are always dressed on brand. And so it's a joke if I show up somewhere in like jeans and a t-shirt, they're like, what, are you feeling okay? Like, you are not on brand. There's no statement necklace. There's no wedges. You've got no wow going on. We don't know what to do with you.
When I think of you, I think of like classy real estate agent lady with her accessories.
Well, see, I also have a personal motto, and I think it's actually an Oscar Wilde quote, that you can never be overdressed or overeducated. I'm fine going in somewhere and like feeling like I'm overdressed because I feel like I'm making more of an impression than if I don't. So I usually tend to err on the side of overdressing, I guess.
I love that. I love that so much. I suffer from the opposite. I don't know what it is that's just like in me that wants to not try as hard, or like not try as hard because I try very hard, but like appear as though I'm not trying as hard. I hate it about myself, but it's what I like naturally always, it's like my knee-jerk reaction to most things. I remember when I was a kid, I must have been like 10 years old, and I went to this party with my family, and I wore the prettiest pink like fluffy dress, and I got there and all of the other kids were wearing jeans. And I was so mortified that I sat outside the entire time and cried.
Oh.
And like that little girl is still like, oh no, I have to be the least dressed person in the room anywhere to protect myself from looking like I tried too hard.
Well, see, I always thought you looked super cute when you worked here.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
always wore like heels and stuff.
I sure did before I popped a kid out. I don't know when's the last time I wore heels. I used to wear heels all the time, guys. When I was in my early 20s, I would wear like 6-inch heels everywhere. Why? It depends on who I'm going to be meeting with. Like, it depends. If I haven't met them before, I have a very go-to look, which is black pants, like a trouser, and like a button-down top, and like simple jewelry and like my nice flats. But if I know anything about them, I usually change my outfit accordingly. If I'm meeting with a female, I'll usually wear a dress, like a pretty dress. If I'm meeting with a guy, I try to dress a little bit more masculine. Is that weird?
No, you're
I
kind
don't
of
know. I don't
dressing
think
for
so.
the dressing, kind of like as you learn like personality types and you kind of adapt to communicate with that personality style. You're kind of
Yeah.
adapting your personal style to adapt to whatever situation you feel like you're going into.
I definitely try never to wear anything frilly when I'm meeting with a guy because I don't want that to make me come across as more of like a girly girl. Because I usually have issues with guys not taking me seriously as it is.
Yeah.
Oh, Allison, also, you're always wearing like a lipstick.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also one of your signature things.
Well, it's like I've got my glasses, my lipstick, and my pattern dress.
Yeah.
And beyond that, they already know I'm too much. So if they don't want somebody that is like that, then they certainly don't want me as a person because I'm a lot.
But we like it.
Well, yeah, but not
I think
everybody.
you're just
does.
enough.
That's okay. Just enough.
You're
Just a
just
sweet
enough.
little morsel of extra.
I also feel like you have such a signature, like the both of you could definitely have your own emojis, and we would be like, oh yeah, that's the Allison emoji and that's the Sally emoji.
Don't give us ideas.
I
I think
want
it's
that.
a great idea. I would like emojis.
I
for
do
the
want
both of
that, but
you.
I think Bitmojis, I'm like burnt out by Bitmojis, you know?
Yeah, don't be Bitmoji.
Mm,
Oh, I remember when those were fun, and then they got annoying.
yeah.
My uncle, who is in his 60s, sent me a Bitmoji the other day. Therefore, no one else should be using it.
Yeah.
And that's how we know the trend is dead. So that's what makes you feel confident. And I think, like, it might sound dumb and trivial that we're talking about what we wear, but it doesn't have a huge effect on the way you feel.
It
Yes.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because like if I'm uncomfortable in what I'm wearing, then I will be uncomfortable the entire time and I will be an awkward mess.
Do you guys get nervous when you're going to a listing appointment?
It depends. I think for me, I get nervous if I feel like I didn't prepare enough.
And that's when I get the phone call.
Yeah, I call
Oh.
Sally right away and I'm like, oh, I'm not ready for this.
So Sally must be a very grounding presence if she's your go-to call when you're nervous.
Yeah, like I'm like, Sally, just tell me that I'm okay. And
I
I
should
know what
start
I'm
calling
talking
Sally
about.
too. Damn.
I think this is why I was like, we need to have this podcast episode because sometimes I just need a Sally pep talk. And what if this bitch doesn't answer the phone?
You can
This
go
is
back
true.
and listen
We're
to
gonna
the
be
podcast.
we're gonna be the most frequent downloaders of this episode.
Yeah, seriously, I'm gonna listen to this thing way too many times.
Well, let's
Who
not
do
put
you
my...
call Sally if you're nervous, or do you not even get nervous?
Oh, I get nervous. I usually just talk to Mark and he says something. He's nice, but he'll say something that'll be like, why are you even worried about this? Just,
But can you
Go
say
do
it
it.
in his accent?
no, I cannot. We have to have him on, but I never know what he's going to say. So we could have the husbands of realtors episodes
Yeah.
and see what they have to say.
We have recorded one of those, but it was one
Oh,
of
so
the
awkward.
it was the first episodes that we recorded in Alex's basement, and we only had one microphone for all four of us, and so we haven't published it.
Yeah, and we wanted, like, part of it, we wanted them to be, like, venting about the stuff they have to put up with, you know?
And they wouldn't vent.
And they wouldn't. They were like, we don't know
"Wow,
what you
we
want us
really-"
to say right now.
Yeah,
And
they were
we
like,
were like,
"Wow, we
"Come
really
on."
believe in you,"
And that's
Yeah.
what Mark would, that's the same thing Mark would end up saying. But no, you're really good. You're super smart. I know you can do it. You're wonderful. Like, okay.
Yeah, which is, like, fine, but also, like, talk about the times where you're like, really? Do you have to be doing that right now? And, you
Like,
know.
and will you shut up because I don't want to hear about it right now?
Right.
But I have to get it out.
Totally. Anyway, yeah, we need a realistic one, which is why we need to get, like, a couple beers in them first.
Yeah, and do it like after a week, like I've just had, where like Josh wants to murder me, but that's okay.
That never happens.
No way. You're paying for his cushy ass life.
Yeah, right.
You're his sugar mama. Okay, so I get nervous for everything. Every time it's a new client. Whether it's a buyer or seller doesn't really change my level of nervousness.
Oh, that's so nice.
Why do you get nervous?
I have anxiety. I have social anxiety.
Okay.
And so I'm the kind of person that after every social interaction, I feel like cringe over everything that I said. Anybody? Have you ever had a moment like that where you're like, oh my gosh, why did I say that? Like, I sounded so stupid.
Yes.
Except for I experience that every time I talk.
So, do you listen to the podcast then?
Do I listen to myself talk?
Like,
Well-
do you listen to our podcast, Call Before Showing, the Call Before Showing podcast?
Well, since I'm editing, like,
Yeah.
even when you edit the first draft, I still have control in it.
Right.
And so, yeah, so I'm okay with that. I wish I could edit every live word that came out of my mouth. You know, like I think editing the podcast has actually given me confidence because I'm able to go through stuff and be like, oh, you don't sound as stupid as you thought in that moment. Like, I think if I were to actually be able to hear back the conversations I've had that I'm cringing over, I would be like, oh, that wasn't as bad as you thought it was.
And I think even going into like a listing presentation, I mean, we were all trained by the same people. I feel like we've all been trained very well. And so you just have to take the confidence that you do know what you're talking about. And I know sometimes when you get in there, you feel like the person you're talking to, the potential client, either by the way they conduct themselves or the questions that they ask, that like, oh, maybe they actually know more than I do. And you get a little nervous about answering the question.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to go back to the fact that they've sold 2 houses in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've sold
More
than that in a year. You know, so yeah, I actually do know what I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and taking that confidence to be like, no, this is my job. I do this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you sold one in 1974.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're doing it again now.
Right. And they might have like a very specific experience that they've encountered in those 1 or 2 sales that is something you're not familiar with, but that doesn't mean that they know more. They just happened to have a different experience with something. And like, what's to say you can't also learn from the person that you're servicing, you know?
Yeah.
I think that like we're so afraid of not being like the most perfect experts, but who is? And recently I was reading some like motivational something or other, and they were talking about imposter syndrome, which I think a lot of us starting off can, or even still, like can have struggles with that. And I read something that said like like someone is always going to know more than you. No matter what, no matter how long you're in the business, no matter how much you learn, there's always going to be someone that knows more than you, and there's always going to be someone that knows less than you. And when you are going on a listing presentation or a sales call or a buyer counseling or anything like that, you have knowledge and information that this person doesn't have. And so who are you to withhold that? You're doing them a great service by sitting down with them. You're educating them. You're helping them, actually. And it kind of shifts the perspective to where originally you were like, oh, there's this thing I need from you. I need your approval. I need your money, really. Right?
Yeah,
but
like I need your listing. I need your
I need your listing, yeah.
yeah.
I need your validation, really. Like, if we're also talking about like confidence and how it makes us feel to get that approval. But what it also is like, you need my knowledge. Like, I need to help you with this. And it's going to make your life better if I help you with this. And it's true. Like, if you really think about it, like, their life will be made better by the fact that you helped them, that you know that you're an honest person with integrity that's coming in here with the intention of getting them the best for their, you know, for their buck, and like getting them the smoothest process and all of that. If you think about it like that, I don't know. I think that it has like a lot of power in the way that it can shift like perspective.
Yeah.
That's how I've been talking to a lot of people lately. I've been on my coffee dates and talking with people that knew me in my previous job. They know what I do now, and you know, they think I'm doing great at it. And that's what I tell them. Like, I don't see myself as a salesperson because I cannot make anyone buy or sell a house. You know, it's not a candy bar. It's not $1. I can't talk you into it. Mm-hmm. So I'm selling the education. I'm selling the knowledge that I have. And I would much rather feel like I'm coming alongside someone and holding their hand through the process and helping knock down those hurdles, as opposed to trying, I'm number one, you want me because I do all of these things and I'm the best. And I'm like, that just feels weird to me to even go into someone and be saying that. I'd much rather be like, what are your questions? What are your concerns about what we're going to do here? Let me answer those. Let me take care of them. And then leave them with the feeling that I actually care about them, as opposed to they're just another number on my sales board. Yeah. Type thing.
And on the other side, that totally comes across. Like, think about when you're looking for any type of like service person. I personally feel like if I'm being understood, if I'm being listened to, if I feel like this person cares about my experience, then I'm like way more likely to go with them than the guy that's like, look at all my awards, you know?
Look at all of my awards.
Yeah. Look at that.
This whole thing, it was just right here. I don't know what you're doing.
For those of you listening, Alex just picked up her award.
So it's funny because every time I feel insecure. Okay, so let's go back to, I had to write a profile for the relocation team that I'm on. And I was kind of looking at what other people's profiles said, and there was one person that called themselves an award-winning realtor. And I was like, well, technically I am too. Like, I have won awards. Like, this has my name on it. Yeah. It's real, I swear, guys. I don't know why they gave it to me. But I did. I won an award. And so I put in my profile that I'm an award-winning realtor. And every time I'm feeling insecure about something, West goes, come on, you're an award-winning realtor. Like, did you tell them that you're an award-winning realtor? And it started off as this funny thing, but honestly, it makes me feel so good. And I did not do very much for that award, but like, just tell yourself, girl, I'm an award-winning realtor. And you guys are award-winning realtors too. All right, guys, what gets you pumped?
Okay, this is going to sound really, really lame.
Dancing naked in the mirror.
Oh, no, that does not get me pumped. Feeling like I'm truly prepared to walk in there and I know what I'm talking about. I've done my research. I kind of have a good idea of our price range in case they ask me, and just owning whatever presentation I'm giving them. So I guess just the being prepared. I know that's really boring.
No, I think that's like, great.
No, that's great.
At first I thought like, wow, that's really nerdy, but that's actually probably the best thing that you can walk in there with, is being prepared.
Speaking with confidence. You can get a long way by just like owning what you're saying and just being married to it, even if you're not 100% sure. But you know what? That sounds like it's good. Let's just go with that. But then also being really willing to be like, well, you know what? I really don't know, but I can find out the answer for you. Not being afraid to say, I don't know.
Right. Because it's normal not to know everything.
You can't know everything.
Yeah, exactly. Back to being prepared. I think that's honestly should be rule number one, is like always be prepared. If you have an advanced knowledge that you're going to this appointment,
Right.
it's the best tip that we can really give you is to be prepared. Because then, like, I don't know, I feel like all of the worst case scenario things kind of start to float away. And I know my anxiety is always the worst before I do the preparation part.
Well, and also it gives you the ability to feel so confident in what you are saying in terms of price and market conditions and whatever in that area, to just say, you know what? If you don't think that what I'm saying is valuable, then I don't need to be your agent. I'm not the right agent for you because I've done my research and I'm confident in what I'm saying. And if you're going to stand up to me and tell me that I'm a dum-dum, then that's fine. But it's better to know now than to know when we're halfway through a transaction that we're not a good fit.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think the further you move into your career, you realize that it's worth it to say no to the people that aren't right for you. Like you learn that like saying no is actually saying no to someone now is saying yes to someone even better later.
Right. Because they're not sucking your energy and your time.
Right.
Because if it's someone that's a bad fit, you put more emotional effort into it because you feel like you're always behind, you're always trying to catch up,
and you have to like prepare yourself to be enthusiastic about serving them.
And it kind of chips away at like your soul. Like it makes you more jaded with every experience like that. I mean, you definitely learn from each experience, but I think it leaves you a little bit crushed.
Yeah, and but preparation on the like listing side of things helps you kind of dodge bullets of clients that are going to be emotionally exhausting for you, that are just emotionally exhausting because they're not a good fit, not because of any other reason.
Right. Yeah. It's like I accidentally ended up on a for sale by owner appointment the other day. I was doing listing photos and I come out and my photographer's talking to the guy across the street and he says, "Oh, this is Sally. She sells houses." And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And it was this little couple that are trying to sell their house, but he doesn't want to pay the full percentage to someone. He's willing to pay a buyer's agent, but he doesn't want to pay anybody else, and he doesn't want to pay closing costs because then he's not saving money. But they had me in their house for 45 minutes. I almost felt like a captive in there. And I'm like, I wasn't prepared to go on this thing. Yeah. So consequently, they're like, "What do you think about our price per square foot?" I'm like, I don't really know because I wasn't planning on being here today, so I haven't done any research. I know what we're listing for across the street, and I know it's a totally different price point because it's a totally different house. Right. That's all I know. Like, I felt uncomfortable the whole time and just wanted to get out because I wasn't prepared to have that conversation with people I'd never met before.
Totally. Allison, what do you do to get pumped?
I call Sally. And have her tell me that I'm pretty.
Oh, this is a very codependent relationship, guys.
See, but it's not codependent. I feel like I'm overly dependent on Sally, and then Sally is like perfectly. Yeah, like she's just like perfectly independent, and like she can totally get by on her own. Where meanwhile, I'm like, Sally, I need you to tell me that everything's going to be okay.
She can get by fine. She's just not allowed to leave.
Right. She's being held captive here in my FSBO appointment.
Except for she's always prepared because she knows that all she has to do is say it's going to be okay and that you're pretty.
Yeah. Or just like, you know what you're doing. Yeah. And it's okay if you don't get it and blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm the person that going into a listing appointment is really hard for me because I'm a people pleaser. And so if somebody's like, if I'm saying, okay, we can list it for $210 and they're like, I want to try for $220. I'm like, okay, sometimes. And so... So the preparation and all that stuff and having Sally tell me like, you're confident in your number, just put it out there and let them say what they're going to say, but it's okay if you let it go because it's not the right fit and you are definitely not getting $250 or whatever. Right. You know, sometimes I just need somebody else to be like the person that's like, you got this, so that I don't need the validation of the person that I'm selling my services to.
Right.
So that I don't need their validation. I know that I have Sally's validation.
Okay, so your recommendation, because not everyone can call Sally,
is to like find somebody that you trust, that you want to talk to before listing appointments.
An optimistic person.
Yeah, or just somebody that will be like, you know who you are, you know that you're good at this. Or just listen to this podcast, okay? You know who you are, you know that you're good at this, you know that you're prepared. So you have all the tools that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen to that on repeat, because that's what I need to listen to on repeat, you know?
Right. So what do you do, Alex?
Yeah, what do you
pumps
do?
you up?
She's like, I call Sally.
I threw you away with Allison and Sally. So the way I feel like in my skin definitely has a lot to do with like that first layer of confidence. I have a couple things. There's some music that gets me pumped up, and it's mostly rap about making lots of money.
Yes.
You should insert some of that right here.
Yes. West, do we have licensing for this music? Ready, go.
But yeah,
like money, money, money.
Yeah. I get pumped about that. The other thing I like to do is there's always an endless list, to-do list that like we're constantly working on because we are working with different clients and we're always trying to grow our businesses and stuff like that. So I try to get ready and be ready a little bit early and like go down to my office and check a few of those things off the list, like whatever.
So you feel accomplished before you get there.
Yes, exactly. Whatever small things they may be, so that I feel accomplished. I feel like I've checked something on the list. It weirdly tricks my brain into feeling like the listing appointment is not the most important thing that day, even though it is.
Right.
But it feels like, okay, and the next thing to do is to go to this appointment. And then I'm always super early to appointments.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm never late. I like to get places super early and just do whatever, listen to a podcast, listen to my gangster rap about making lots of money.
So do you park on the street that you're going into the listing appointment on, or do you go to the nearest grocery store or something and sit there?
No, I park on the street.
Okay.
I park on the street because the worst case scenario is that they see me and they're like, oh wow, she is really early. And I'm like,
right.
Yeah. And sometimes they'll come out and be like, do you want to come in? And I'm like, oh, I mean, if you're ready, but if not, I have things I can do, but I just wanted to make sure I'd be here, like, on time.
Yeah.
Or I always say, like, sorry, I'm always early, which is like one of those, what's your worst character trait? And you're like, I care too much. You know what I'm talking about in an interview?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what
I'm a perfectionist.
yeah. I just try too hard and I'm just too perfect. So that's what makes me feel pumped. Allison, if you could give any advice to someone 2 days out and then right before their presentation, talk to us a little bit about what that would look like.
2 days out. Make sure that you feel confident in whatever numbers you're working with for the client in the neighborhood. Look at obviously previous sales and history and how quickly things are moving and all that jazz. Rerun comps 2 days before. Rerun comps the day of, just in case there's a new listing that affects the value or the positioning for the market. And then the day of, call Sally. I'm just kidding.
What about outside of pricing? Because a listing presentation isn't just presenting a CMA.
Right. Well, it's not just it's not just value and it's not just whatever, but for me, that's the part that I'm usually the most self-conscious about because I know that I can stand behind my marketing and what resources that I provide.
So like, if someone doesn't feel confident about that side, what would you say to them?
Get some stuff that you're confident in. Be at a company that either provides marketing for you that you feel confident in selling, or like create something of your own too. Like, this is what I do personally to like market your house, whether it be like I do a social media video, I do a live walkthrough, I host open houses. Like, find the thing that's your thing that you love to do and that you can promise to every single person that you'll provide at like the same level of service for every single listing. Stand behind that as like your thing. Everybody has a thing that they like the most, right? Like mine is social media. I do, a social media post, a separate social media ad. I do Instagram stories for every listing, just like little things that other agents aren't doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of use that as like my crutch of being like, listen, I do this. Other people aren't necessarily doing this. There's lots of agents that don't even understand like how to do an ad or how to target the people that would be most likely to buy that house. So like find your thing that you're most confident in. And like, of course, have that be your thing that you stand behind the most. Where like the marketing piece is easy for me. I can talk about that all day long. But the preparation for me is more on the pricing side because I'm not necessarily naturally as much of like a numbers enthusiast, but it's like such an important part of marketing a house. Like you can't just social media ads up and if it's overpriced, it's overpriced.
All right, Sally, what about you? If you could give some advice a couple days out and then the day of.
I think a couple days out, just to talk to Allison's point, is to practice what you're going to say. Type out a script if you have to and kind of learn to internalize that script. I know when we did listing and presentation training, that's what I did. I wrote out a whole script on what I was going to say. I internalized that script, and I can, for the most part, still follow that script in a presentation. And of course, I've gotten it to the point where it doesn't sound like a script, but just practice what you're going to say, knowing that they're going to have questions, and then you kind of free will the questions because you can't know what all questions they're going to ask, but practice the stuff that you know you need to say and the way that you want to say it, because you'll feel much more confident walking in there. Say, you are confident in your pricing and you are confident in your marketing, but you know exactly what it is that you're going to say because you've practiced it and you've internalized it. And I guess on the day of, if you're not having a crazy day, take a moment to like stop and take a moment for yourself, whether that's have a cup of coffee or get away for a few minutes and quiet and just look back over that stuff again and make sure that you're still feeling confident and still feeling like you know what you're talking about, so that when you hit that door, you're like, hey, I'm Sally. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Being prepared and being confident and knowing what you're going to say is going to come across, as opposed to sitting there being like, this is a piece of paper that says I can do photographs for you. You know what those pieces of paper are talking about, and you can easily, if you use pieces of paper, I do, to confidently talk about each of the steps that you provide in the marketing of that home, and then feeling confident in providing what you think the price point should be. So
I like that you said on the day of, like, take a moment and go back over your material. Realistically, if you're planning something out a couple days before, it could be a great presentation, but if you haven't even looked at it in 2 days, when you sit down to start, or even like throughout the presentation, there can be moments of like, what is this again?
Right.
And so taking that time to just like refresh. My advice would be that so much has to do with like the confidence that you have in yourself. And it's at times like this where any insecurities that you may have, even buried deep down, can start to come up, because that's just what happens when we get nervous or anxious about something. Not even days before, but I think that's something that is important to look at and assess and be like, okay, why do I feel insecure about A, B, and C, and what can I possibly do to feel better about those things? So I think working on your confidence is a big thing. Like, you're not going in there for their approval. You want to present the best version of yourself, which is a great thing. Like, if it's the best version of yourself and you know what you're doing and you're well educated and you're well informed and you're experienced, like, they're lucky to be able to see that. Get excited for them because they're getting such a good agent.
Yes.
Yes.
Guys, like, you're going into this presentation and like Mr. and Mrs. Smith or whatever get you as an agent. Like, they're so lucky because you are gonna put up those Facebook ads and you are gonna, Insta story all of those open houses you do for them, and you are gonna sell that thing, and it's gonna be priced right, and they're gonna get the best experience. And like, that's really cool and exciting because they're gonna choose you, and what could be better than that?
I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of how I feel sometimes going in there. Even when I interviewed here for the very first time, I was like, you know what? They'll be lucky to have me because I'm going to be so good at this.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it does come across cocky, but you have to talk to yourself like that, because you can't let the voices that tell you can't do it, you're not good enough, you can't let those voices win, because that comes across. So having that confidence to think that about yourself, the when you walk in there, I'm like, I can do this with my hands tied behind my back if we've got this price right and you're willing to do the work to have it ready, you know, because I'm good at what I do.
Yeah. So, in short, you're going to do awesome. These people are lucky to have you.
You're pretty. Your hair looks great.
You're pretty, your hair looks
You look
great.
sexy.
Also, you're very handsome. And that doesn't matter, though, because it's what's inside that counts, even though you're gorgeous.
And we love you. Good luck. Go kick ass.
That's right.
You
Go
bitches.
get 'em.